Hey guys, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight to chat about this new Creeper album, Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void. Creeper are a UK-based horror punk and pop punk band, and in the beginning I just really didn't get the hype on these guys. As far as their self-titled debut goes, it to me just kind of sounded really dated, and that was really frustrating to me. However, their follow-up EP, the Callous Heart EP, honestly I thought it was a big shift for the band. I thought the songwriting on here was miles better than its predecessor. Not only that, but more importantly, Creeper was just writing really catchy tunes. Not only that, but it reminded me of many years ago when I was enjoying the work of the early days of bands like AFI and Alkaline Trio. I did worry, though, that this was just a nostalgia trip, and I continued to feel this way around the time of their Stranger EP. Once again, they brought in these really catchy punk tunes, but really brought in like the drama and epic songwriting into the mix. I was worried, though, on how I would feel about a full-length album, and in 2017, they kind of really took me off guard with their Eternity in Your Arms album. It was a very catchy, dramatic, and expertly crafted horror punk album consisting of a slew of some of the best tracks that I'd heard in this genre in years. It was fantastic. And leading up to this album, I've been kind of let down with a lot of the singles, mostly because Creeper had been going in a very different direction. Let's chat about this album. Early on the albums, we have tracks like Be My End, which actually captivates me quite a bit. It brings me back to hearing Eternity in Your Arms for like the first time. It is just so unapologetically horror punk and pop punk, and it's very catchy. It's just so over the top and dramatic and unbelievably grisly as well. Not only that, but from a songwriting perspective, it's fantastic. And no matter how unbearably cheesy it gets at times, honestly, I love Born Cold as a single. Honestly, this track is so unbearably cheesy at times, but I think it's actually played to the strengths of Creeper. I think that's actually something they pull off really well. It's crunchy, it's over the top, and incredibly passionate. It sounds like this, I really seem to finally get what they're going for with this album. Not to mention, by the end of this track, it's completely larger than life. I think this is the best track here. I have a lot of the same feelings on Annabelle. In a lot of ways, this is like the quintessential Creeper track. The drama and the theatrics that the band take on here just work wonderfully with the very bleak, visceral lyrics. I'm 100% for this. Also, it's just so freaking catchy. Once again, Creeper can write a catchy pop-punk hook and make it seem so easy. I love the group vocals on this one as well. It's something that they do really well on this album. I would love to hear more in this vein as well. As a matter of fact, it took me a long time to come around to it, but I think they've grown a lot with this album. Paradise, at first, really didn't rub me the right way at all. This is easily the campiest track here. There's just a lot of B-list horror movie feel with this track, but it's actually something that I've grown to adore. At first, I was kind of upset with this track because it's just another lighter on the ears track from Creeper. I just wanted to hear them rip into a real crunchy riff already. But between that slick bass groove and just how over the top this is, and the emotional performances go, then the camp factor on top of all of that, this track is actually really lovable. And between the horns and the ghoulish performances towards the end, it is absolutely absurd, but I'm just loving this. Thorns of Love in a weird way reminds me of like what I was enjoying so much about like almost Foxygen's work for a while. Their deep appreciation of musicals and theatrics just really come through on this one, something I can really get with. Here we get like this weird, ghoulish throwback sort of evil sounding doo-wop, which is absurd, but it's a blast. And yes, on paper that sounds overly cheesy. Newsflash, it is. Newsflash again. Almost this entire album is overly cheesy. But I love it. I just can't help but get caught up in it and just wanting to just get up and sing along with it. And that goes double for 4 years ago. This one is a duet between Will Gould and Hannah Greenwood, which is like the first time they've ever really done a true blue duet, and it comes off awesome. Hannah's always done so well with her backing vocals. It's really kind of puzzled me why she hasn't come forward and done a track like this before. It comes off really well. Not only that, but it's one of the best written tracks here. And honestly, Napalm Girls is one hell of a track as well. I mean, at this point on the album, I was literally salivating at the thought of having a nice, crunchy pop-punk anthem because we haven't gotten that many of those here, but alas, here we are. If you liked their Eternity in Your Arms album, this track is for you. It's anthemic, it's soaring, it is a true blue horror punk anthem. And for me, it's honestly what I thought we'd be hearing a lot more of on this album. And Black Moon is a pretty freaking cool finale as well. It shows Creeper going back to that sort of ghoulish doo-wop thing they were doing earlier. In an odd way, it almost reminds me of like what Timber Timbre was doing for a while. I mean, lyrically, we've reached to the point where it's so over the top and ridiculous, but a lot of that album is just that, and I don't think it's a bad thing. It actually reminds me of what I loved about these genres in my teen years. Now, this album sadly does still have its flaws. For one, this album has countless interludes that just go nowhere, add nothing to the album, and just honestly could have been tacked on to the end or beginning of either one of these tracks here. I will say this, there are a couple of interludes here that have some really great ideas. Actually, there are some that just sound like they should have been really repackaged and used elsewhere. It's just, I don't think that they're done very well. Cyanide is a little too much for me. It has been since I first heard it. Don't get me wrong, I do like the very dramatic vibes to this. And clearly from the rest of this album, I think it's the way to go. But the rest of this track is completely toothless, void of any oomph at all. Poisoned Heart is like the evil, disgusting, ugly brother of the track Paradise here. It has a lot of the same vibes to it. There's a campiness to this track that I do like. However, this is everything I don't like about this album, honestly. Yes, it's campy and ridiculous and over the top, but there is no substance here whatsoever. And because of that, everything falls apart and it's just obnoxious and annoying. This track alone can be used as an argument that Creeper need to take a step back and go back in that heavier direction. Outside of that though, this is a pretty fun little horror punk and pop punk album, I think. Now, I will say this, it took a while to really grow on me, really figure out what Creeper was doing, and yes, I am a little upset still that they didn't go in the heavier direction of their last album. At times, this album is ridiculous, and it is almost always cheesy. But if you can look past that, the drama, the emotion, and this weird sort of throwback sound that Creeper is going for in between their horror punk anthems, there's actually kind of a blast to this album. I'm feeling a decent 7 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, guys.